long, it just goes on autopilot. You don't have to think anymore.
You don't.
Just go boom.
Roll, please.
Or run.
Stand by for speed.
Is the AC on?
What, I just turned that one off, what's the others?
And Roy.
Yes, don't lean forward or else we get in front of his face and we don't see nothing. And after all, they're going to see me all the time, so.
And Roy is
Doesn't matter.
Okay, for,
Doesn't pick up right away.
neither does my girlfriend. Well, you know, what do you want? Tom, in Big, you play this 8-year-old child, but there is a difference, at least in my perception, between being childish and childlike as an actor. In order to really make something convincing, you've got to find that childlike quality. Where did this come from within you? Is this Tom Hanks the actor? Or?
Well, I'd have to say, I would, yeah, I think it's Tom Hanks, the actor. To be childish in a movie, you can do that because there's no holds barred, because you can, because it's a comedy, whatever. The character that I'm playing here is a child, and so with that came a responsibility to pay attention to the innocence of a child and the cluelessness of a child. The emotions of a child and the instincts of a kid who's only 12 years old, that in the confines of this movie raised the stakes of what my job was and what we were going to try to do as filmmakers. We're trying to accurately portray that, in this case, perhaps the last moments of this kid's youth before he says goodbye to it all completely. And when you lay claim to that idea, it requires that you follow an awful lot of rules, more rules perhaps than in the course of doing a normal romantic fantasy kind of comedy. Certainly in this case it was.
There must have been a lot of difficult scenes, in just including the character itself, but was there one particular scene or one particular event in this movie that was particularly troubling for you?
The scene where this kid has this secret, this protagonist has this secret that the audience is in on. We found it very difficult to capture the moment where he no longer keeps this secret and tells this woman that he's been what exactly happened to him, and he does in such plain, simple language that of course she doesn't believe him, which is very frustrating to him. And he prefaces it all with what I thought was a very real emotion, which he says, "Look, I miss my family and I want to go home." That's the all-pervasive. Now let me tell you why. The telling of his why is so fantastical that of course it doesn't work. That was a very, very difficult scene to plan, for the writers to write, for us to understand what it was we were going to do in it, and to shoot, because it's the naked truth of the piece, you know. We have this movie about a 12-year-old kid and the thing with the 30-year-old guy, and in order to just kind of say, well, I went to a carnival and I made a wish on a machine and it turned me, is a very, very, very hard thing to make live on film. And then later on, it was also hard for her, on Elizabeth Perkins' part, to finally say, "Oh, I get it. Now I understand what happened." You know, that's tough to do, and that takes effort on everybody's part. But for us, who by that time are cranky actors and we've been up late and all that kind of tired, it's difficult to maintain the mental stamina in order to drive that horse to drink, which is, we got a big wagon here, and we got to get it to the creek in time. It's a tough thing to do.
As well as take the audience with you at that very critical point.
Well, what we've done, hopefully by that point, is set up a world that has very specific rules that the audience knows, and that we can't break those rules because we're cheating all of the investment that they put in on. We have this movie logic. You say, well, it's movie logic, so it doesn't matter that guns have more than 6 bullets in them or whatever. We had a very small movie logic that we couldn't bust. We couldn't shatter that.
Tom, just sitting here talking with you, and even the other people at the station that have talked with you before, said there is a great difference between the screen persona, the person that the audience knows, of a very kind of madcap and childish kind of an adult, and a very intellectual, a very artistically based person. Are there other differences that the audience perceives in Tom Hanks, the actor, as
Well,
to the
I
real
think
person?
that anybody kinds of think, any audience member, a lot of people think that when it comes down to making movies, that more often than not, people just kind of make it up as they go along, and that there is not, in fact, and in the case of Big, years of discussion and rework and an awful lot of thought that goes into it. And because I do primarily comedies, you know, with a C, and people go and laugh and enjoy, that they think somehow that everybody involved on them just kind of gets together and makes each other laugh for the course of a few months, and they put it all together, and you have a movie that's funny too. The old adage that comedy is hard is very true, but it's particularly harder as well as when you're trying to tell a true and honest story at the same time that has emotional investment on the course of the, you know, everybody involved. And I think that if, you know, I'm a funny guy, okay? This I can't help it. The world is broken up into two categories: the people who make people laugh and the people who laugh at the people who make people laugh. And I'm one of the people who make people laugh. That's the way I've been all along. That doesn't mean, though, that the reason I went into became an actor is so I could shirk the responsibility of actually having to work for a living. You know, I think we all work kind of hard, and there are some times when something bites us, we work even harder. But it's not an easy job, but it's a job I like. And if my enjoyment of what I do communicates the fact that it's easy and that I'm personal, well, then that's fine. And then God bless the audience for jumping to that conclusion. It's a fine conclusion to jump to.
Penny Marshall expressed, I'm not going to tell you what she said about you, but she said about herself, is she has a great deal of trouble verbalizing her directions. She can't say, "Oh, Tom, I want you to be a little bit bigger, I want you to walk stage left, and I want you to block." She says she can't do that.
No.
What she does is she says, "Oh, I want you to walk over here, I want you to go like
Yeah,
this."
she does that. She acts it out for us before we do.
Did you learn anything from her in terms of your own comedy or in terms of directing and being an actor from her?
Yeah, I learned that, first of all, Penny can do that. Penny can talk to us another way. She's going to thinks that she cannot, but in fact, I gleaned an awful lot on the role from what Penny was trying to do. We also, what you learn from Penny is that it is not anything you say, and it's not any particular place you go, but it's some feeling that you communicate. It's something different, and if the only way she can communicate that feeling to us is, as a director to actors, is to, you know, act it out, then that is like better than, okay, oh, I see, okay, yeah, I understand. There was a time when I heard Penny keep saying, "You're scared, you're scared," when I was on camera and she was off, and I finally said, "Penny, look, don't just stand back there and say you're scared, because I feel like I'm a dog actor, you know. Here boy, you know." It was like that. Penny is actually she doesn't talk. She talks her own language, I guess is what I'm saying. She talks Marshallese, which is not anything that is. It's a tough language to learn. It's kind of like Farsi.
Have you reached that point in your career, success-wise, with the wonderful success of Nothing in Common and the other successes that you had, that now Tom Hanks can really do the kind of films that he feels that he doesn't have to make compromises on?
Well, I will acquiesce that Nothing in Common was a watermark for me, but it was because that's the movie that I was ready to make at the time I had an opportunity to make it. I don't think that you can ever jump to a conclusion that, oh, okay, the pinnacle of success has been reached and I don't have to prove myself. When you take a movie, you have to prove yourself all over again. It doesn't really matter that, you know, X movie made X dollars or was the critics thought highly of this thing. What I find happening is that it's difficult to find ideas for films that are not familiar turf, stuff that I've gone back over and have already kind of analyzed. It's hard to find something that you really honestly think, you know, ooh, hey, now that can stand having a movie made of it. You know, that's something that I think I don't know enough about and yet would like to know enough about, that I'll go off and work on for sometimes as much as 6 months or even longer. So that's the real battle here. And the movies are very, you know, there's a lot of scripts out there. There's a lot of people that would like to have their movies made, and there's a lot of movies that are really good. It's my own individual being able to relate to them that is getting to be a bit of a problem. Business-wise, you know, box office-wise, that stuff takes care of itself, and I hope it continues to take care of itself.
I do too, and I think your judgment on picking scripts has been real good.
Well, thank you
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much. Thank you.
Are you going
Are you going to do re-asks?
I'm going to do re-asks, so if you want to leave the room,
You can go on after me.
Go ahead.
Or you
We'll trust you.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.
Thank you. Speed up. Stand by, Roy. And it's yours.
But there's a difference between being childlike and being childish. How did you find the balance in Big? This film had a lot of difficult times, as well as just the character itself. But was there one particular area or one particular scene that you found especially challenging? Okay.
You were doing a lot of smiling.
Yeah. Penny Marshall says that she has a lot of trouble verbalizing her directing skills, and she, in fact, does a lot of action, showing people what she wants as far as direction is concerned. Did you find this distracting? Did you learn anything from Penny Marshall? Have you reached the point in your career with all the successes that you've had, both commercial and especially in terms of critical, with Nothing in Common, have you reached that point where you are able to pick and choose amongst the scripts and to do the kind of pictures that you want to do without any compromises? That's it.